You're listening in on an animated discussion about Batman the Animated Series with two experts in their fields. I'm Joshua Unruh, superhero scholar.
And I'm Caleb Masters, your friendly neighborhood film critic extraordinaire from the Cinematropolis.com. And today's topic is Season 1, Episode 62, His Silicon Soul. So, Joshua, let's remind the good listeners, why are we talking about this episode of all episodes? Because, we don't do every episode on the show. We usually try to pick the cream of the crop, so to speak, the better episodes. And every episode of BTAS is generally pretty good.
Right. I mean, that's one reason we go for the cream of the crop, because there's only so much you can say when everybody's A game is BTAS's C game.
Exactly.
Right? Like, this was another good episode.
Yeah, right.
In this case, we are picking up very unexpected continuity threads.
Yes. From an episode we did not like.
From a two-parter that we didn't like.
God, it was a two-parter.
It was a two-parter, Heart of Steel. And we talked about it because it does lay the foundation for some stuff that is picked up here, and then bits of it filter out into Justice League a little bit.
And Barbara Gordon showed up in that episode.
Also
debut.
that, we had to talk about Barbara. The robot stuff and the AI stuff filters into Batman Beyond, filters into Justice League, filtered into it's a tenuous connection between the Zeta Project and HARDAC, but it is there. And that was a spin-off episode that was, what if we did a Batman spin-off that was in the future and about a robot and is basically The Fugitive? It didn't last very long.
No.
So these threads do run through here, but it started in Heart of Steel. And I think we're going to talk about this one because it picks up those threads and honestly does what Heart of Steel wanted to do better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, I feel like a lot of the things we were going to say about this episode, we said about Heart of Steel, except for it's done
It's
better.
just better. And this is a space that you kind of fall into when you're looking at, this whole that is made of other pieces. These guys did not sit down to do some giant overarching Batman story, which is part of the reason BTAS works so well, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, no. Agreed.
But it gets to this place where it's like, we're going to talk about the HARDAC episodes because Barbara Gordon's in them and they're important and they do some interesting things. But then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about His Silicon Soul because it does that stuff better. It's just weird. I will say one thing it does not do better, it does equally poorly, is the title card.
Yeah, so this title card, there's a robot reaching to strangle Batman.
Yep.
Hey,
that's what the episode's about.
You're right. You know what, Joshua? This is pretty weak, but it is better. I don't know if you recall Heart of Steel's title card.
I do.
It's better than that one.
It is better than that one because the Heart of Steel title card was HARDAC, and we didn't know what HARDAC was until 2/3 of the way through part one. This at least does that job that I wanted to do of telling me a little bit about what the episode is about. I guess in this case, it's telling me too much about what the episode is about. So it's not great.
New characters to introduce in this one. Robo Batman, as I'm just going to call him. HARDAC Batman.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's interesting enough that he got a Funko Pop version.
He did?
He did.
Oh, God.
I mean, the visual is amazing. Okay.
Oh, yeah. The face blown off we get at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's like 3 things this episode does really well. Okay, that's it. Like 3 things. In my opinion, one of them is that visual of the torn apart, half Batman face, half robot
Terminator
face.
Batman is great.
It's so great that we are going to see it resurrected and used to much better effect on Superman the Animated Series with Metallo.
Yes.
Like, Metallo actually will get there, but he makes more sense as just a robot guy once the secret's out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a reason to keep it secret that he's a robot guy, but once it's revealed, there's no reason to do that, but they keep bringing him back as half torn apart because it's an amazing visual.
It is a powerful visual that defined that character on the show.
Yep. And they figured it out here years before we were going to get Superman the Animated Series.
Good old prototype here in BTAS. So what was the second thing?
So I feel like the second thing that they do very well in this episode is the visual motif of HARDAC.
Like the icon,
the
eye or whatever. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a half capsule, right?
Yeah.
With little ears that
Right.
were electrodes and that big red scary eye.
Right.
We see it stenciled on the box,
Uh-huh.
which is, until we go to see Rossum, the only thing that tells us this is tied to that
this
other
is a
episode.
HARDAC,
right? It's more tied to HARDAC than it is to Rossum. Kind of interesting.
Hey, I will say it's a cool fake lead. Wait, why is Batman breaking out of a box?
And then he gets shot.
And then he gets shot, and then he's a robot. Then that's when you're like, wait a second here.
So we do that HARDAC thing on the box. We do it again when Robo Batman sees himself in the mirror and traces the shape of the cowl.
Yes.
And it gets all shimmery and reminds him of HARDAC. The third time we get it is in Rossum's greenhouse. The water of the robot that's cleaning the windows
Yes.
gets smeared until it looks like HARDAC.
HARDAC, yeah.
And I feel like they 3-beated this on purpose. If you're not familiar, good listeners, with the 3-beat, this is when you do a thing in a story 3 times. You set up an expectation, you reinforce the expectation, and then you subvert it.
Yep.
So with the first one, it's straight HARDAC. We hit the first beat. With the second one, it's made very personal. He's tracing his own face,
Yep.
and it reminds him of HARDAC. And then the third one, he's seeing HARDAC everywhere.
Yes.
And sure enough, in this episode, he gets
HARDAC, and then his eyes turn red, and
his
then
eyes
he's
turn
full
red,
on
and
HARDAC.
he's HARDAC rebuilt or trying to reestablish himself. So that's the second thing I like. That visual recurring motif of the HARDAC symbol is really good, really strong.
Okay.
The third thing is the thing that we've already beat to death in the previous episode, which is that, more human than human.
Right.
What does it mean to be a person? What does it mean to have a soul?
Right.
It does it better.
It does it better. And I mean, and if you didn't get it throughout the entire episode over and over again, Batman at the end recites it specifically for you. Could it be he had a soul, Alfred? A silicon one, but a soul nonetheless.
I really like that.
That was cool.
It's a little heavy-handed, but again, this is ostensibly
A children's show
for children.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate them drawing a line between Batman's own sanctity for life and having a soul. That's the line that gets drawn. It's Batman's unwillingness to take a life imprinted on the robot Batman.
That was actually pretty cool.
That
robot Batman was so dedicated to replicating Batman that he wouldn't kill someone. It was in his programming not to kill someone.
And that's diametrically opposed to his new HARDAC programming of kill everybody, we'll replace him with robots.
Right.
And that's what tears him apart.
Right.
And then
I like how he snaps when he thinks he's actually killed Batman.
Yes.
It's and he's like crying and moaning and smashing the computer. Yeah, that's good stuff.
And I think that was Batman's plan.
Oh, yeah.
He was banking on that because he was like, I'm beaten. The clock's ticking. I have to hope that a moral quandary is enough. It's a very Star Trek ending, too, in a really cool way.
Oh, yes.
Like original flavor
Yes.
Star Trek. It's
Yep.
really that. And I love that. And in this case, it's Batman who realizes that his own sanctity of life is the only thing that can stop this from happening. But in order for that to happen, he has to lose and hope that it's enough.
He's trusting the morality.
He's
That is
trusting his own morality in Robo Batman. What's more human than human? I love this. I love this.
Right. And then he raises the question, well, maybe killing, I mean, if this thing is driven by some sense of morality, me killing it would actually be taking a life. Right?
Yes.
And Batman actually doesn't totally kill him because we see that he's reprogrammed and makes a cameo in Batman Beyond years later where he shows up as a target practice. So I guess not much better life. But, hey, he lives on.
Sometimes these guys also drop the ball on themes, so it's worth keeping that in mind.
And that was an Easter egg, like 5 years later.
But yeah, that stuff I really like. Drawing such a stark line between Batman's own personal morality and the idea of being ensouled, of having any kind of humanity at all, is really strong in a show with Batman's name on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's good. That is strong. And it's better than any 3 things that happened in 2 episodes of Heart of Steel.
Heart of Steel, man, I still can't believe that was a 2-parter, Josh.
It wasn't necessary.
We watched 2 parts. It doesn't even feel like a half an episode. Hey, and do you think people in Gotham would be like, remember that time the robots tried to come and take us over and kidnap us? Like the most influential people in Gotham? I don't know. That's just it's a weird thing.
You feel like it's a conversation that would have been had by Mayor Hill and Jim Gordon and the judge and
all
Bruce
the people.
Wayne. And,
yes.
That would have been had by them and maybe not wound up with the accidental mastermind just growing vegetables with a bunch more damn robots.
or the fact that they just let the Robo Batman get put in a crate and moved off to the Raiders of the Lost Ark mysterious facility.
Yeah, I feel like the GCPD is kind of doing their Keystone Cops number with the cleanup after HARDAC.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But again, it gets us to a place where they do the themes that they didn't do as well before, again, but better. And I'm going to call it a worthwhile watch because of that.
Worthwhile enough. Worthwhile enough. Also, Joshua, fun fact, or fun, just dumb question I have to ask. Alfred realizes this is not Batman. Oh my God, this is not Bruce Wayne. He sees robotness hanging out of his guts. Oh my God, I'm going to go down to the Bat Cave and I'm going to gas the robot. Alfred, come on, man. Come on. Gas the robot.
I
Of
recognize
all the things.
that, of course, the Batcave only has non-lethal protection. Sure. Don't go down there at all, right? I mean, Alfred is smarter than this. I don't even understand why they did that scene. It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
It's just out of the gate dumb, and it doesn't do Alfred any favors. And again, on an episode that's otherwise very, very smart.
Yes, generally I would say it's
like
very smart.
Unexpectedly smart. Definitely clears the bar of smartness set by Heart of Steel. To have Alfred be so dumb is inexplicable.
Well, Joshua, sure, I'll say it's worth a watch. I mean, maybe not watch it twice, but, watch it.
Let's say it like this. If you already joined us for Heart of Steel,
yeah, you gotta
definitely watch this.
His Silicon Soul.
It wouldn't have made sense, I don't feel, without Heart of Steel, but it does the stuff that Heart of Steel brought up. It puts it to bed.
Yep. I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. Well, Joshua, let's go ahead and close out the episode as we always do. I know we only talked about this, listener, for like 10 minutes, but there's only about 10 minutes worth of stuff
we
to talk about.
We want you to watch it, and it is some stuff worth talking about, but it's just not enough to go way deep on.
And not enough to go deep on that we haven't already talked about in Heart of Steel. So, Joshua, what would you recommend the dear listener watch or read or play after watching this episode?
So, because we already did the ones that make the most sense with more human than human and robot doubles, I went with what does it mean when you are a bifurcated person? Sounds weird, right? Mm-hmm. Once upon a time, there was a character named Madrox the Multiple Man.
Oh.
I'm going to suggest X Factor, a comic book series written by Peter David starring Madrox the Multiple Man. And Madrox's power is that when he absorbs kinetic energy, it makes doubles of him. He had like a cameo in one of the X-Men movies, but he was not important. X Factor actually starts with what we are thinking of as Madrox Prime, starting a detective agency. And over the course of the series, you discover that he made doubles and sent them off to have lives of their own to learn things that he might find useful and come back, because if he reabsorbs them, he gets all of their memories. So he could send one off to go become a microbiologist and another one off to go be a karate expert or whatever. And when they come back and he reabsorbs them, he has all of their knowledge from that time. Some of them didn't come back, and some of them had very different ideas about how their life should run than the original Jamie. And part of the story becomes Jamie Madrox going and finding those pieces of himself and either absorbing them or sometimes not, and then finding out what it means to have different versions of yourself. It's very much a road less traveled kind of story.
Okay.
And I tie that into this episode because you see, in this case, Batman's personality is very, very strong, and it kind of overlays the robot. But imagine if there was a robot Batman that realized he didn't belong in Gotham, but just kind of set off into the world with that base.
With the Batman base.
How are they different? How are they the same? What does it look like when they come back together? You can explore that to an extent, along with some really great supporting cast members in X Factor, starring Madrox the Multiple Man.
I really want to see that episode now.
Caleb, tell me about yours.
This was a tough one.
It is. We've done it already.
We did it already. I was like, we can't talk about Blade Runner again. I mean, come on. So
okay, let's be honest. You and I could, but we're not going to.
We definitely could. We could. We have. We probably will again, but not today. So, random pools. And this is just me getting wacky into the AI land. And this is kind of a spoiler, so sorry. But they're the series called Terminators. In fact, I recommended it on one of our more recent episodes, Terminator 2, because that's the iconic great one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to recommend, as far as a robot that does not realize he's a robot, I'm going to recommend not the worst, Terminator movie. But the most forgettable. Like, literally. Hey, did you remember when when Christian Bale was in a Terminator movie, Joshua?
Don't remember.
You don't remember that? You don't remember? Do you remember when, what's his bucket? Sam Worthington was a thing?
Nope.
You don't remember Avatar? No? Okay. Well, at one point in the year 2009, they started a Terminator movie together called Terminator Salvation. And let's just say that involves a robot not realizing he's a robot.
That sounds terrible.
You know, I actually thought it was pretty fun and better than I should have been, but it's pretty forgettable. No one remembers it. And in fact, it didn't do did okay, but they never made a sequel to it.
It's interesting you bring this up because that sounds very much like a thing that would support the themes in this episode of BTAS, but actually undermines the themes of Terminator largely.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it kind of falls out of the canon.
Right. Well, and it was crazy because they were actually trying to set that up as like the new relaunch of the Terminator franchise because they had Christian Bale as John Connor and it was going to be a big thing. Anyway, second recommendation, more recent, Westworld. Specifically, Westworld Season 2, Episode 8, Kiksuya, where you follow a Native American Westworld robot who has gone off the grid and he doesn't ever get reprogrammed like the other androids do in that show. So he's going off of like Gen 1 programming of Westworld stuff. And he's like Native American. And it's really cool because, again, lacks self-awareness. Like, he knows weird things are going on. His programming is very prototypical compared to everyone else's.
Yeah.
They've got this big, crazy narrative that they're all a part of. He's not a part of that at all. So that's a really cool one. And then lastly, just because for Bishop, I got to throw Aliens out there because I'm going deep.
Yeah. No, that's a really good pull. Probably one of the
He's a friendly
earliest. Yeah. I like this. I like that. That's excellent. We can always, this is probably the third or fourth time that we've suggested Aliens.
At least.
But for different reasons. So, hey, dear listener, that means go watch Aliens. Well, that about wraps up this animated discussion. Caleb, where can people go to continue the conversation with you?
Well, Joshua, you can always find me on Twitter talking about film, television, video games, and all sorts of other pop culture goodness at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. I'm also the editor-in-chief and film critic at the Cinematropolis, and we publish these in-depth essays on all types of different films, oftentimes including science fiction and superhero films, all the stuff you'd want to read about. And you can find all these articles at thecinematropolis.com. Joshua, what about you?
I'm also most active on Twitter, where you can find me easily enough at Joshua Unruh. And remember that an animated discussion is a Pulp Diction Productions program and is 100% supported by listeners like you. To find out how you can keep this and our other shows in production, check out patreon.com/Pulp Diction Productions.
And our next talk is going to be wildly different. We're going from talking about AI and robots to talking about Greek gods in our animated discussion of Season 1, Episode 63, Fire from Olympus.
Until next time, we'll see you back here. Same bat time, same bat channel.